Welcome back, everyone, and now to the closing session of the 2020 SME Assembly. I hope you agree that it's been the most stimulating and thought-provoking day and a half, with important contributions from our speakers, whether they're Nobel Prize winners or just starting out like our winner there, our 2020 SME or YEC winner, Sabine. And I'd like to thank you all, our delegates as well, for all of your interaction and your discussions. Now, the purpose of this session is to send you off with some concrete ideas of how SME policy should evolve against the background of COVID pandemic and in order to achieve a more sustainable European economy. Our keynote speakers will share their highlights of the past 1.5 days and set out their top priority for a sustainable transition. And I'm delighted once again to welcome back Kristen Schreiber, who will give a closing statement on behalf of the SME Envoy Network. The floor is yours again, Kristen.
Thank you, Shona. And I think the 2020 SME Assembly is unique in many aspects. Unique because we had for the first time a Nobel laureate giving the Schumpeter lecture. Unique because we had over 1,200 delegates. Unique because for the first time we held the assembly online. It will not surprise you, though, that I really express the hope that this will be a one-off. It was an interesting one-off, but still a one-off, because I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in real and not the virtual world again. What are my main takeaways from this unique event? We often say that academics, entrepreneurs, and policymakers live in different worlds. And I think this is certainly true at times, but in particular, this morning we saw that academic experts on entrepreneurship and economic questions are very close to entrepreneurs these days. I conclude from all the discussions that there is a very strong feeling that simply going back to the status quo ante is not going to work. Professor Stiglitz asked us for a new social contract. And I think we have started in these 2 days in our SME Assembly family to draft the first ideas for this contract. A simple going back to growth as before will not help us. It would mean throwing away all the learnings from the COVID crisis. Now telling SMEs to do things differently than before the crisis requires support and will also require a kind of reset of how we see companies. We have to move away from seeing them simply as entities that make money. As we have already started to discuss last year in Helsinki, we need a well-being economy. And well-being is not dolce far niente. A well-being economy is an alternative vision for the economic system in which finance serves and incentivizes the economy, and the economy serves society and the environment, and thereby us, the citizens. So at the Commission, we are standing ready to support and finance this change. More than 50% of the long-term EU budget and Next Generation EU, a total of some 1.8 trillion euro, will support modern policies and set Europe on a path to sustainable and resilient recovery. And Shona, you asked us earlier what we will do on Wednesday morning to aid the double transition to sustainability and digitization. I mean, honestly, I think more digital is difficult to be on Wednesday, but more sustainable, I think we can always be. And this applies, I think, to our buying patterns, i.e. to buy local wherever we can, to buy lasting products wherever we can. And that's what we can do actually as responsible citizens, responsible consumers, to consume the way we want to live. And as a policymaker, we will continue on our path. And I'm sure that together we will succeed. The SME Assembly has certainly given us a lot of push forward to make what Maya Göppel calls the great mind shift. And all these ideas and this input would not have been possible without you, the delegates, without our distinguished and determined speakers, not least on this panel. And let me say how pleased I am in particular that Martina Dlabajová, an eminent member of the European Parliament, has accepted my invitation to join us today. The European Parliament has always been, had always had a very close relationship with SMEs and with us, and was always there to support the cause, be it when the COSME program was adopted, be it to initiate Erasmus for young entrepreneurs, or the Single Market Forum. And we are really grateful for this support, and I'm counting on you, Martina, to continue with this. Let me also say a word of thanks to our SME envoys. 3 of them will speak today. SME policy in Europe is a lot about exchanging best practices, about learning from each other. And I'm glad to act as a deputy SME envoy and to be able to chair a network of such dedicated persons, of which Peter, Sabine, and Jerne are excellent examples. And let me say a special thanks to Sabine, a good and dear colleague and friend over the years. She has co-hosted this event with me, and I'm really a special thanks to you and to all the other envoys for their committed work, which allows us to move forward.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Thank you very much for all of your contributions over this SME Assembly 2020. And let's move on to those envoys, of course. Can I now turn to Peter Vasdorp, who's the SME envoy for the Netherlands, who has a very important message for us today.
Thank you very much. And first of all, congratulations to Sabine and Christine for organizing such an excellent SME Assembly, a very inspiring and exciting sessions and lectures and talks. So I'm very impressed with the Assembly, so thank you very much for organizing that. As an SME envoy and rapporteur for financing, I believe we need both support and recovery. Not only support, but also recovery. Because we need a strong SME base. That's what the whole SME Assembly is about. And this morning I learned from Professor Ute Stefan that SMEs are increasing their societal engagement. She showed us the numbers, she showed us the graphs, and it shows how important SMEs are for society as a whole, not only because they provide jobs, but also they provide training on the job. They engage in social and local communities. So we need a strong SME base. And yesterday, Professor Stieglitz talked about the new social contract, and he also talked about entrepreneurial spirit. And we need a financial sector which is dedicated to helping SMEs finance their business. And that's what we talked about yesterday in the workshop on finance and recovery. We talked about opportunities and ways to improve the financing of SMEs, and especially the more innovative, high-growth SMEs. We talked about narrowing the skills gap in the skill up gap between the US and Europe. In the US, there are more skill-up companies than in Europe. And why is that? Why is that? Because Europe is more or less the biggest economy in the world. Why are we not number one also in establishing skill-up companies? Well, that has to do, for example, with ecosystems. But it also has to do with financing, improving access to financing for skill-up companies. And we need skill-up companies because they lead the way in the recovery. They invest in deep tech, in technology as a solution, in technology as a way forward for the twin transition to a green and a digital economy. And it was also shown in this morning's workshop on strategic value chains. They spoke about hydrogen, which is one of the technologies of the future. So they need financing. Those skill companies, those innovative companies, those SMEs need more financing. And the EU has done a lot already with the recovery plan. And we spoke earlier about the Escalar program, which is already very successful. But it should not stop there. We should move ahead. And that's why I'm very proud that we, as the SME Envoy Network, adopted the call to action to improve the access to finance for scale-up companies, improving opportunities for risk financing by working together with public and private companies, public and private efforts, working together on a national basis, but also European institutions like the EIF and EIB, and make more use of each other's knowledge and expertise, and calling upon actors to provide more access risk financing for those companies. This call to action was adopted by the SME Network, and I'm very proud of it. It originated in the European Entrepreneurship Summit, which was organized mid-October. And not only did that summit, European Summit, talk about the call to action for financing, but it also included the call to action in hydrogen, in AI, artificial intelligence, because there are also examples of these technologies where we need more effort and where we can do better, where we can improve on combining our SME networks with those technology networks, for example in AI, for example in hydrogen. So I'm very proud that we can adopt those call to action for financing. I hope we can work together and move forward on the calls to action on hydrogen and AI, because in that way we can continue to work on building and improving the entrepreneurial climate for SMEs, and that's our job as SME envoys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that message. I'm now delighted to welcome to the Assembly for the first time Martina Dlbayeva, the Czech MEP.
Thank you so much, Anna. Hello, good morning, everybody. Well, first of all, I would like to say that it is a really great honor to speak on such a great event. The annual SME Assembly is not about SMEs, but it is for SMEs. Thank you for organizing it and calling for concrete actions for millions of European entrepreneurs and small businesses who are leading the fight against the virus now. Thank you especially to you, Christine. It was really a unique event and unique team. Congratulations. Well, we are going through very difficult times, which no one had imagined 1 year ago. Europe is witnessing the biggest crisis since the Second World War, and the epidemic situation is not changing. What should we do? How should we react? There is no other way. Reconsider our views on recovery and find a way how to coexist with the pandemic. I think this is clear, and I think everybody is on the same board. I am convinced that the importance of SMEs in our economies has been recognized at EU level. But to be honest, very often in recent years, the EU institutions, included mine, were only promising but have not delivered. To be prepared for the session of SME Assembly, we were asked a couple of questions. And I especially loved the one on Wednesday morning, as Christine did. So what will be your first action you do on Wednesday morning tomorrow to help SME policy evolve? Well, here is my answer. Wednesday morning is too late. Let me start now. I am really convinced we have to stop talking and making plain promises and rather start to do concrete steps. I think we have been already doing them in the European Parliament, at least in my political group, Renew Europe. I am very proud of recent Renew Europe policy paper on SMEs called Our Commitment to Europe's SMEs. Who has not read it yet should do it, as it is very specific and goes to the heart of the matter. In the Parliament, we are already discussing how to help SMEs and make them visible in the EU's plans. In ITRE committee, we have been working on 2 own initiative reports that aim at having a sharper action and taking stock of the painful impact of these months. Last Friday, we have adopted a report on a European strategy for SMEs, which builds on the synergies with the industrial strategy that President von der Leyen has promised to revise next year to take into account the effect of the crisis. The SME strategy we have worked on, and where I was strongly involved as a Renew Shadow Reporter, is for sure keeping an ambitious look at the future, but it clearly takes a pragmatic look at the past. How many times have you heard the formula, we have to do this because SMEs are the backbone of our economy? Too many. And how many amendments do we bring in the legislative work to correct proposals to take into account the SMEs dimension? Too many. From last Friday in this report, not tomorrow, from last Friday, we are asking for a strong commitment to the Commission and Member States to move forward in any field by systematically act in the SMEs' interest and by looking at our goals through an SMEs lens. How? We need a strict application of the SME test, which helps implement the important think small principle, and we need a roadmap with clear timeline and milestones. A roadmap that will give businesses a clear idea of what will happen and what is being done for them. We need better regulation. I don't like to hear the word deregulation, which hints at intervening with horizontal cuts. We need to truly simplify the working environment for entrepreneurs. I subscribe to the idea of applying a one in, one out principle to move forward the status quo. And let me say it loud and clear, the work of policymakers cannot happen without a close dialogue with SMEs representation. We need to look together at what the one in is. It should be that one that has worked for the business and that we want to keep. We need our governments to be working with us. In this sense, I very much count on national envoys to be powerful actors in promoting reforms nationally across the ministries. Thank you all for your cooperation and for your great jobs. You are great SMEs envoys. We need a truly responsive administration to take stock of the opportunities coming from the digital and green transformation. Last but not least, we want more than words. As MEP, as member of the European Parliament, I will be in the first line in making sure that the progress in meeting the objectives and action of the SME strategy is well translated into the reality. As a member as well of the Budgetary Control Committee, I am used to look in details at where commitments really end up. It is one of the reasons I have called for a State of the SMEs Union. This debate should be held each year in Parliament's plenary sitting, presenting a review of what has been done and what concretely is still on the table. In conclusion, the challenges that our SMEs are currently facing are so grave that the recovery calls for an unprecedented team effort where no stone is left unturned. And yes, Christine, yes, everybody, you can count on me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Martina, and welcome again. And now I'm delighted to introduce Sabine Hepperle, SME Envoy for the Federal Republic of Germany and, of course, co-host of this assembly. Sabine.
Thank you very much. Dear Ms. Jabalova, dear Christine, dear Peter, and dear Jenny, ladies and gentlemen, and all the 1,200 participants of the first ever digital EU SME Assembly. I also would like to mention again, it's really just a pity that we could have not welcomed all of you to Berlin for this EU SME Assembly, but at least I think all of us together, we are really so pleased that at least we could promote the digital transition by co-hosting this first digital SME Assembly ever. I think it was an exciting journey to organize a virtual-only meeting, but thanks to the proven cooperation with the European Commission and the really excellent support of experienced agencies, we all together managed to have a really successful and inspiring conference. And I think with many more entrepreneurs and participants than ever before, really 1,200 participants, this is really a record high. Distinguished and excellent speakers delivered their thoughts on challenges and opportunities for European SMEs to master the corona crisis and the double transition to a digital and a sustainable European economy and society. And during the discussions, we also noticed a lot of interest in adopting new technologies and resource-efficient practices. We've also learned that access to tailor-made financing remains crucial for SMEs and startups. And I'm also very glad that my dear SME Envoy colleague Peter is on the forefront to fight for better access to finance in every manner. My personal highlight was to experience all this courage, flexibility, and responsibility that entrepreneurs were showing in the last 2 days. Despite the crisis, they keep on fighting for their ideas, their employees, and the communities where they work and live. And as Professor Welter rightly said, SMEs are more than figures. They're not just a small version of big companies. They have unique characteristics. And the intense and lively discussions in the last 2 days have also shown the COVID crisis has not changed the priorities for SME policies in Europe and in the member states. But it reminded us of the most important asset in Europe, and this is solidarity and cooperation, standing together, especially in these times. In the spirit of the SME Assembly slogan, I'm now even more convinced that we can build a sustainable and resilient future together in Europe. And we are looking forward to meeting you in person at next year's EU SME Assembly. And now I have the pleasure to hand over to my colleague, Jenny. Thank you very much again for this really excellent and, as Christine Schreiber rightly said, a unique event that we could observe the last 2 days. Thanks to all of you. Thank you very much. It was a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabine, and thank you for co-hosting this event. And of course, indeed, what a shame we didn't make it to Berlin, but we are looking ahead to next year and hopefully brighter days ahead. Now, I'd like to introduce our final speaker, as Sabine mentioned, Jurni Selesul, SME Envoy for Slovenia.
Hello from Slovenia, and thank you very much for the floor. Firstly, allow me to be the last in line to congratulate sincerely to our German colleagues for organizing and delivering such a really successful event. I think that if saying the program was rich, this would still be an understatement. So all regards connected to it. It was really a pleasure listening and to see what kind of content you brought to this assembly. Warm thank you and congratulations to all the technical team. I think we all learned in the past 6 months or more that even having a small online meetings can be sometimes demanding and challenging, let alone of hosting such an exciting and big event via internet, and that everything works technically. Once again, congratulations to everybody involved with that. It was really a pleasure, and I enjoyed it very much, seeing how everything runs smoothly. Secondly, I warmly thank you for handing over the torch, the SME Assembly torch to Slovenia. We will proudly carry it until the next year, and I'm confident that we'll be able to see you all in person next year here in Slovenia. We will make sure that we take full recognition of our brand, which is green, creative, and smart, by networking with Slovenian entrepreneurs during the event and by experiencing the beauties of our country. We are really honored to continue the work of our trio presidency by fulfilling the key priorities of the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the European Union. Slovenia is consistently and actively committed to a strong, closely connected and united European Union that will be able to effectively meet future challenges and address the concrete needs of its citizens and, most of all, the business community. Lastly, before I introduce a short video promotion to once again welcome you to Slovenia, I would like to express my confidence that we will overcome the hardship of this pandemic. And as it was said many times today, some things will stay changed. Not everything will be the same. We will do things differently. I sincerely hope that not everything will be done differently. I hope that really next year we will be able to see you in person, to welcome you in Slovenia, to be welcoming Slovenia. Take your hands once again. This is almost being a blasphemy this year, but really the personal touch is really what is missing. And for me, at least, sincerely, it is on my wish list that I can welcome you in Slovenia in person. And this is something that I will be sending to Santa Claus at the end of this year, so that I will make sure that you will be here in Slovenia to see our beautiful country, and that we'll be able to see in person. Thank you once again to everybody, and welcome to Slovenia in 1 year's time.
My first experience of Slovenia was so much more than I expected. I had to come back. Now that I've been here a few times, I know this much. It might be small in size, but it's big in its achievements. Now I know it's green. And not only because forests cover more than half its land, but because everyone is working to protect the environment. From innovative pioneers in light aviation to greenhouses heated with geothermal water, while smart sensors control its production. And creators of self-sustainable zero-emission houses that are in complete sync with nature. Now, I also know that it's creative. Not just because of its unique achievements in sustainable construction engineering, but also because it manufactures sports equipment for champions the world over. But Slovenia isn't just green or just creative. It's a fun-loving and free country where groundbreaking ideas come to life. And it's smart. because Slovenia's know-how is used for automotive testing. And every single car in the world has at least one component made in Slovenia. And because it's one of the leading manufacturers of generic pharmaceuticals. Of course, Slovenia is already famous for its hospitality and locally grown food. And its engineers never stop working on cutting-edge automation. While its companies constantly push the barriers in technological innovation. And all because of its brilliant people, educated and reliable, multilingual and talented, who can improve the quality of your life or even help you reach the stars. Now I've been here, I know that Slovenia is a land of infinite potential with fantastic opportunities. Which one will you take? Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
Now there's only one thing left for me to do, and I'd like to thank everybody involved in bringing this assembly to you. Thank you to the European Commission, especially Andre Mayer, the German presidency of the Council, especially Laura Winsus and Stephanie Karge, all the wonderful speakers, panelists, moderators, and especially you for your excellent contributions. The contractors at Lowe and Gopa who managed this assembly and their technical staff who worked so hard to convert this into an online event at such short notice. If you missed a session or you just want to watch another one again, you can do so for the next month. But we'll leave you now with a visual record of our discussions. Goodbye from Brussels, and here's to looking forward to a 2021 SME Assembly in Slovenia. Thank you.